I am sending you best wishes and my blessings. So, since you have gotten online lecture 10, and I have welcomed you all to online lecture 11 of Geography Grade 6. And today, the topic to talk on is, of course, recap of our solar eclipse. Like I have shown you a video lately in which you saw a video on solar eclipse that was just you can say that the trailer of the solar eclipse, and today we will talk more about it, and plus we will having a short lecture on lunar eclipse. So let's get started. So just girls and guys, just have your book, like your book should be open, and it's page number 12. So we are learning about eclipses. So first, here is the sneak peek of our previous lecture, which was on solar eclipse. So before that, like you already have witnessed the video as well, first we talked about and we have seen about what is an eclipse. So the video says that an eclipse occurs when one subject is like in space blocks an observer from seeing another object in space. And from Earth, there are two main types of eclipses. I told you in the video as well, you already have seen it, like the solar eclipse and the lunar eclipse. So we talked about the solar eclipse, like solar eclipse occurs when the moon passes in front of the sun, causing its shadow to fall on certain portions of the earth. And the eclipse is not seen from every place on earth, but only from the locations where the shadow falls. And from these locations, it appears as if the sun has gone dark. So I also have shown you via video the types, like the types of the moon's shadow, and it said there are three main parts of the moon shadow during an eclipse, and these are called the umbra, penumbra, and antumbra. Girls and guys, if you will draw this diagram and note down the points, it would be really beneficial for you all. So the umbra. So umbra is the portion of the moon's shadow where the moon completely covers the sun. So next comes the penumbra. So girls and guys, penumbra is the area of the shadow where only a portion of the moon is in front of the sun. And then comes the antumbra. So what is the antumbra? It is the area of the shadow beyond the point of umbra. Here the moon is completely in front of sun but does not cover the entire sun. So then there comes the types of eclipse. So girls and guys, depending upon what part of the shadow you are located in, there are three types of eclipses. So note down, the first is total, and it is a total eclipse is where the sun is covered completely by the moon. So you can see from the diagram as well, it's right below. So next comes the annular, and annular eclipse is when the moon covers the sun, but the sun can be seen around the edges of the moon. So next comes the partial, and a partial eclipse is when only a portion of the sun is blocked by the moon. So here is the thing, like don't look at a solar eclipse. There were some precautions that you have seen and witnessed in our previous video, and most importantly, never look directly at a solar eclipse. Even though it appears darker, the harmful rays of the sun can still damage your eyes. Girls and guys, our elders always tell us like not to look directly when the solar eclipse happens, because it is really dangerous and harmful for our eyes. Now here is a question: how does a solar eclipse happen? So solar eclipses are an accident of nature. They are so spectacular because the moon and the sun appear almost the same size. In reality, the sun is much further away than the moon, but much larger. the moon orbits the earth once a month, and eclipses happen if it lines up exactly with the earth and the sun. So solar eclipses occur at new moon when the moon is between earth and the sun. Eclipses do not take place every month because the orbits of the moon and earth are tilted at an angle. So most of the time the lineup is not you can say precise enough for an eclipse. However, there are more eclipses than people are generally aware of. There are at least two eclipses of the sun each year, though most are partial. There are things like first, there are at least two eclipses of the moon each year, though a proportion of these are only penumbral when the moon is not seen to darken by very much. And then the second thing is there can be as many as 7 eclipses, including solar plus lunar, in any 1 year. For example, in 1935, there were 5 solar eclipses, 4 partial and 1 annular. On average, there is a solar eclipse visible somewhere about every 18 months. However, from any one location on Earth, total eclipses take place on average like only one in several hundred years. So here are some interesting facts that I would like to share with you all. Like, the longest that a solar eclipse will last is 7.5 minutes. Second point, I wanna tell you, like, the most solar eclipses of any type that can occur on Earth within a year is 5. A solar eclipse occurs about every 1.5 years. Solar eclipse in detail. So let's talk about the lunar eclipse, which is an eclipse in which the moon appears darkened as it passes into the Earth's shadow. A lunar eclipse occurs when the moon moves into the Earth's shadow, and this can occur only when the sun, earth, and moon are exactly or very closely aligned, you can say that, with earth between the other two. A lunar eclipse can occur only at the night of a full moon. So if you look at the moon over the course of few weeks, you would probably notice that it looks slightly different every day. The change in its shadow is based on where the moon is in its orbit, and all we call this cycle the phase of the moon, and it occurs roughly once a month, at least twice a year. However, sometimes quite different happens. The moon passes through the shadow cast by the earth, causing it to look extremely unusual for a short period of time. From the earth, the moon will appear to darken and turn to a deep red before eventually returning to normal. So this is called lunar eclipse. This is called lunar eclipse. So girls and guys, if we were to look at what happens from space during an eclipse, it would go something like this. Like, the moon turns really dark, like the big red ball. First, the moon passes through what's called the penumbra. You can see in the slide as well. That's the penumbra, where the sun's light is only partially obscured. This results in only a slight darkening of the moon, and as the moon continues along its path, however, it enters what's called the umbra, where all direct light from the sun is blocked. But if the sun is blocked, question is, why does the moon turn red? So here is the answer. When the light from the sun goes by the side of the earth, it passes through a long and thick layer of the earth's atmosphere. Shorter wavelengths of the sunlight, like blue, are scattered by the atmosphere. So by the time the light has finished its trip to the moon, move of the longer wavelengths, like red, are left over. On the earth, the same thing happens at sunset, as the ground you stand on gradually passes into the night. As the eclipse ends, the moon leaves the umbra, returns to its normal color, and leaves the penumbra, like you can say that brightening and here, like it's resuming back its original cycle, like it gets back to its original cycle after that. Overall, the whole process lasts only from a few minutes to a few hours, so you will have to be quick if you want to see it. But as long as you're willing to stay awake, you will catch the moon, as you won't see it too often. Let me show you a real video of lunar eclipse that happened somewhere in this world.
Oh my gosh.
I'm looking under now.
Incredible. Oh, take your filter off. Take it off. Oh my gosh. Incredible.
You have seen how it gets darkened. So let me help you to have a quick review of the lunar eclipse with the help of a little video which helps you a lot for your better understanding of the lunar eclipse. 10th of Jan 2020 was the lunar eclipse. So what is lunar eclipse? First, the countries like Europe, Asia, Africa and Australia witnessed penumbral lunar eclipse. So what is penumbral lunar eclipse? Let me explain in a while. Before that, I explain what exactly is a lunar eclipse. First thing that you should know, that lunar eclipse occurs only at the night of a full moon, and in India full moon night is called Purnima. Now what happens is, when the moon is between earth and the sun, if the moon blocks the sunlight, then we call it solar eclipse. Means blocking the light. That means during the solar eclipse the moon blocks the sunlight for earth. When it comes to a lunar eclipse, the earth blocks the sunlight for the moon. That means the earth has to be in between sun and the moon. A solar eclipse occurs during daytime and a lunar eclipse occurs during nighttime. So this is what the eclipse is all about. Now let's understand what is a penumbral lunar eclipse. So there are two definitions that we have to look at. One is the umbra and the other is penumbra. Umbra means the inner region of a shadow. Let's say if I stand in front of you, and amount of area that I'm covering for you so that no light falls on you, that region is called umbra. And penumbra means the outer region where partial light will fall. And these two definitions have to be seen in context of an eclipse. So if this is the sun and this is the earth, the shadow region of the earth is called umbra and the outer region of umbra is deepened umbra. Now when we say penumbral lunar eclipse, that means the earth is now fully blocking the sunlight for the moon. In other words, the sun, the earth and the moon are imperfectly aligned. There are three kinds of lunar eclipses: total, partial and penumbral. In a total eclipse of the moon, the inner part of the earth's shadow, which is called umbra, falls on the moon's face. In a partial eclipse, the umbra takes a bite out of only a fraction of the moon. The dog bite grows larger and the recede never reaching the total face. In a penumbral lunar eclipse, only the outer shadow of earth, which is called a penumbra, falls on the moon's face. This third kind of lunar eclipse is much more difficult to observe. One more important point to note is that any eclipses, be it a solar or a lunar eclipse, that do not happen every month, because if you look at the orbital pattern of moon, it looks like this. Basically, the moon's orbit wobbles, its velocity varies and alters, which creates different angles during its rotation. And as you see, sometimes the moon is too high above the earth shadow and sometimes it is low, and that is why eclipses don't happen every month. I hope this lecture and video will be informative and helpful for you all. So have your pens for assignment number 10, differentiate between solar and lunar eclipse. So wash your hands. Thank you very much. Take great care of yourself. Allah Hafiz.